For today's critical thought, we're going to be doing something a little bit different, and that's why we're starting with game footage, which will make itself apparent in a few minutes. But for today's topic, I'm going to talk about something that I feel kind of makes Game Wisdom, both the channel and the website, stand out from other people who cover video games for a living. I've been watching other YouTubers and message boards and stuff like that, and one of the more interesting things that I hear from a lot of the bigger name YouTubers is that kind of the general avoidance of talking to game developers, be it for an interview purpose or for getting news pieces or details from them. And it's a very interesting opinion. It's one that I don't share. And that's what I want to kind of focus on for today. For those of you who are more on the newer side of following me, I've been doing this work with Game Wisdom since 2012, way before I was ever on YouTube. And one of kind of like my quotas for doing this was being able to reach out to game developers and talk to them as frequently as possible. But for most people on YouTube, I hear two general thoughts about why they don't do it. One is that they tend to focus more on the gameplay and themselves as a brand, and of course bring more developers on. Spending time doing that would get in the way. The other idea is that getting friendly or being more interactive with developers could affect their own reviews, as in what if they make a ranty video about a game that the developer is friends with and then the developer doesn't want to talk to them anymore. And that's something that I see actually happen quite a bit. And even I've had a few that happen with written reviews on Game Wisdom. But even with that said, I could not see myself doing this without the podcast and the interview side of my work. And I feel like this is a major that I think not only separates myself from the other YouTubers, but I think it also hurts a lot of people who cover games for a living. Just talking essentially into the ether with your own thoughts doesn't really do all that much for expanding your own knowledge on these elements and design. This is why I find that I just can't really enjoy watching other YouTubers or streamers unless we're talking about like speedrunners and stuff along those lines, when they're doing something that is beyond what I would normally do. But when I watch somebody else play video games and doing the same exact things that I'm doing, or just not really doing anything as interesting as what I'm doing, it just doesn't work for me. And it just feels like everybody, at least for most of the big name YouTubers, tend to just follow the same trends and the same plays. It's gotten to the point where I don't need to follow major game sites to know when a new game comes out. I just see like 20 to 30 different gaming YouTubers do the exact same videos with the exact same thumbnail art and a clickbait title style, and they may even be playing the game the exact same way. And while they are certainly focusing on their own brand, it just becomes very monotonous. And not only that, but I've said this before, but I'm not a fan of how much YouTubers and quote-unquote influencers have kind of become a major part of game sales. We could easily segue this video into talking about the issues of discoverability and getting your game out there, but I digress from that. But that takes me to why this footage is being played. This is a Valley Without Wind 1. Probably one of the most ambitious and sadly biggest failings from Arkin Games. Not only is this an interesting game to look at, but it's one that I'm pretty sure most YouTubers did not even look at and probably not even know exists. But there's also another reason why this game is up on the channel or up on this video right now. Chris Park was the very first developer I interviewed way back when in 2012 for Game Wisdom. And he has been a frequent guest and a great guy to talk to. And like I said a few minutes ago, if it wasn't for being able to talk to developers and expand my knowledge, I wouldn't be able to do this as frequently as I would. Because despite what people may say, I couldn't imagine just playing just one kind of video game day in and day out for 60 hours a day, and that would be it in terms of my work. I mean, it's one of those old things. Well, it's that phrase about too much of a good thing. but even then, it just would get very boring. And I remember, for those of you who are fans of Game Wizard, you know what we're about to talk about. During a play of Bloodborne, we actually got into a whole philosophical discussion about what it means to do YouTube for a living, and even kind of more life lessons about trying to put on like a personality or some other persona when trying to review games. And I just could never do that. I think it's also why I keep myself very earnest with these discussions. But taking this back to the topic at hand, like I said a few seconds ago, I'm not a fan with how much control a lot of YouTubers, especially those who just repeat the same things, have over what games are being covered and what's being referenced. And for myself, again, I just feel like I am on the complete opposite end of the spectrum when it comes to this. I am more than happy to look at games like A Valley Without Wind and try to get them the coverage or the discussions I feel that they deserve. For instance, I'm not even sure how many people on YouTube have even played games like Too Dark, A Valley Without Wind, one of my favorites, Asura, and so on and so forth. As another big example, Cryptic Comet is one of my favorite developers, and I was one of the few people who had a chance to talk to Vic Davis during kind of the height of his popularity with Solarium Infernum and I think it was called Occult Chronicles. And unfortunately, his games just did not do all that well in the market, and they weren't really, I guess, marketing or video friendly for people to talk about. And unfortunately, he stopped making games soon after our podcasts. But that's the kind of stuff that I don't like to hear when studios go under for whatever reason. And it always annoys me when I see YouTubers make these kinds of celebration videos when a company goes under, or to rip up a developer because a game came out that didn't do as well as everybody thought. And like as another example, I could probably put up video of this would be of Dissecting. That was the dice-based, I'm not even sure how we would call it, strategy game. That again, I was probably one of the few people who had a chance to talk to developers a few years ago, and then I go to load up the game and find that the company went bankrupt and the developer is now blacklisted. And that kind of stuff just really saddens me to hear. And like I always say, that I prefer to support developers whenever possible, especially when they're trying to do their damnedest to survive and make something unique and original. But when I hear about people, outright condemning developers for whether the game didn't succeed or was their cup of tea, it just rubs me the wrong way. And it's part, I guess, kind of like my moral code when it comes to these kinds of discussions, that it's easy to cover big name games and the ones that, of course, got mentioned by major YouTubers. It's another thing to cover games and talk about topics when you are kind of on the outlier there. And it's kind of been a way of motivating myself to keep going with Game Wisdom and reaching out to more developers like that. But with all that said, we're going to wrap up this little rant. So thank you so much for indulging me for this video. And as a special message to any developers watching, if you are working on a game that you're having trouble getting coverage, is a unique and original idea that you're putting your heart into, please get in touch with me. And if you're a consumer or you know a developer who is struggling along those lines, definitely share this video with them. But that's going to do it for today's Critical Thought. Once again, be sure to check back for daily discussions on game design here and on Game Wisdom, where we examine the art and science of games with topics that are probably less ranty in the future. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Before we get to the credits, just a quick shout out to the supporters over on patreon.com/gwbicer. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to check back for our regular streaming, most nights at 9:30, 10 EST, and you'll find a schedule link down below. For a collection of my writings as well as audio casts on design, you'll find that at game-wisdom.com. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at gwbicer. If you're interested in hanging out and talking about game design topics, we have a Discord channel with the basic tier open to everybody, and that is linked down below as well. If you'd like to support us on Patreon, it is at patreon.com/gwbicer. Your support can help to keep things going and growing, and you can earn rewards such as ad-free versions of our talks, votings for our specific Let's Plays and grab-bag streams, and more. But that's it for now. Thanks again for watching. I hope you come back for more great discussions on design here and on GameWisdom.com, where we examine the art and science of games.